And welcome to our next episode of Viive Values. Very, very excited for our guest today because I've been watching his incredible company grow and I cannot wait for us to chat about all things caregiving. So let me just get him on board here and we will get started. Alrighty, here we go. Connect and we can get going and chatting about care. Alrighty. I don't know about you guys, but it is raining where I am, which is really too bad, but I'm hoping it helps everything in my gardens grow. Hold on. Okay. So today, just waiting for this connection to happen here. Today, we're going to be talking all about Good Comfort Care, which is this incredible company, which I will give you some more details about. But we've also been putting out a lot of content this month about caregiving in general, whether that's paid caregiving or unpaid caregiving that's being given by family members. We've been putting out a lot of content about that. So if that's something that you are interested in, go and check out our social media posts. If you're not a part of our newsletter, make sure that you message us and get on our newsletter because there's a lot of great content there as well. And our blog post on the topic should be posted pretty soon. We're just going to try sending this invite one more time. Here we go. And hopefully we get connected. Alrighty. We seem to be having some issues connecting with Marcel. Hopefully he can get on soon and then we can jump in and get chatting on this very important topic. Just give us another couple seconds here. Oh, here we go. I think it worked.
Hold on a second. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I think I've got to go upright. There we go.
There we go. Are you on an iPad? Is that why?
I am on an iPad. One second here.
Yeah.
So sorry about that.
That's okay. You also just need to make sure that you're looking where the camera is on the iPad, which won't be in the center of the screen.
Okay. Perfect. How's this?
It's pretty good. Your eyes are kind of looking off to the side,
sorry.
but it's all right.
I'm sorry.
So long as we get the important content out of you, that's mostly what matters.
Okay.
So that's good.
Okay,
awesome.
great.
Well, I'm glad we're able to connect. So let me just tell everyone a little bit about you and your company here.
Certainly.
Okay. So everyone, this is Marcel. Marcel, say your last name for me so I don't do it wrong.
Yeah. My last name is Zierfuss.
Zierfuss? Marcel Zierfuss. There we go. Zierfuss.
Yeah.
Awesome. So he is the CEO and founder of Good Comfort Care. So Good Comfort Care, they don't just provide care. Let's be clear that that's what really differentiates them from a lot of the other care providing companies out there. They're really transforming the way that we look at it. They're this one-stop shop care company that has simplified the complexities of care, easing the stress and worries that families often face. Because let's be honest, just having a PSW around to provide care, although important, isn't everything that is stressing out families when it comes to caring for someone who is aging or who is injured in some way. So from in-home support and accessible transportation to premium care products and wellness services, everything that they offer is thoroughly designed to deliver the highest standard of care. What began as a very small, dedicated team, and I feel like I knew you when you were small, which was not that long ago, and you've grown so big. You've grown into this really big network of skilled PSWs, nurses, therapists, and wellness experts, and you're providing your services across the GTA to the Georgian Triangle as well.
Yeah.
So you're more than a care provider. You are really supporting families through the full journey of caring for someone who needs constant or intermittent care, which is really incredible what you built.
Well, thank you. And thank you for such a flattering introduction as well. So, and indeed, Mallory, I mean, we met very much in the early days in the onset of and the beginnings of Good Comfort. And it's been an absolute fabulous journey and a very rewarding journey as well. And day to day, I feel like, I'm so blessed to be able to work with my team, an immense team, and all the clients and families that we support as well, and in transforming care. You know, you know the story, but for our audience that doesn't know the story, the seeds for Good Comfort were planted about 7 years ago with my father-in-law, who passed away of Lewy body dementia and Parkinson's. And so, you know, like many of you perhaps that are on the call that are, you know, facing care or even thinking about care. I mean, my wife and I, we had no plan, we had no idea in terms of what we were, you know, dealing with, and we were confronted with it head on after that devastating diagnosis. And so, you know, in terms of our mission, and bless you, in terms of our mission of transforming care, it really started from that firsthand experience and dealing with, you know, a system ultimately that is very complex. It's tough to navigate. And most of us as well, importantly, don't necessarily think about care until we need it,
Yes.
right? Care is very much a reactive thing that we do. We do not plan for it or think about it ahead of time. And so a big mission of ours is as well is to educate families, educate clients as well around not only navigating care, but big key point of that is to start planning and getting a plan in place before you actually need care.
No, I completely agree with that. I think it was you who told me that, you know, for most people, if there's one thing, I don't know, pick one thing that they could need support with.
Yeah,
Usually a person goes, well, I mean, I'm not going to hire someone to do one little thing. Like, I'll just wait
yeah,
till I need more care. I'll just wait, right?
correct.
Like, why spend the money on that one thing? But if that one thing is causing you physical or mental stress in some way, and it doesn't need to be,
Yeah,
and if you have the money or are able to access government support, then why wouldn't
correct.
you remove that stress from your life? Because as we know, stress is like it's not a silent killer anymore. I think we
Yeah,
know how negative it can be on us, and in particular on our aging population.
yeah,
So if we're able to remove that stress and therefore give them better quality of life, that's going to
yeah,
overall impact their health. So
correct.
I think it's important that you're saying that you should be reaching out earlier than you think, and you can be putting a plan in place. And
Yeah,
it's not an all or nothing
yeah,
approach. It's figuring out what's best for you.
absolutely. And I think it's important that we also rethink or reframe care
Mm-hmm.
to many people, to many parents as well. And we all know, you know, I'm sure many of you are confronting the resistance to have
Mm-hmm.
support or help or care. The perception is that care is something that one needs when they can no longer do it for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
or that they're bedridden, right? To us, though, right, care and what I encourage on a daily basis is coming back to proactive care, proactive planning is reframe care in the sense that it in fact can increase one's independence day to day. If mom is having, you know, it's a lot for mom or dad to get what they, you know, they need done on a day-to-day basis, and it's a lot on the adult children as
Right.
well,
Mm-hmm.
right, who are dealing with busy lives themselves. Then why not offset that and actually get in some support, get away from the care word and just think about just generally like getting in some help, getting
Yeah.
in some support, right? So it's almost like an executive assistant, right? An executive assistant of independence. It's like
Right. Ooh, I
get
like
get
that.
yeah, get someone in who can help, right? And help out with just kind of some of the day-to-day to offset it. And that is what we've found is the most um proactive and positive way that one could, you know, encourage aging parents
Mm-hmm.
to get care in, but also to offset some of the risks that may come without having anyone in place,
Yeah.
offsetting falls, right? Having people monitor them from a day-to-day basis, and you know, doing it in a way that just doesn't feel like care. Importantly,
Yeah.
so our service, our companionship care, is by far one of our most popular offerings,
Mm.
because it's exactly that. It's going in, it's flexible care and flexible support. It's for many people who do not need care, but need
Right.
some assistance here and
Yeah.
there, day to day. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's like having, I know a bunch of my friends when we were in university, they would go live with sometimes grandparents that lived near the university, and you'd see these
Hmm.
grandparents thrive in a different way. It's not because the kids were around all the time, but they're just taking on little things,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so this idea that if someone who is most times younger, and
Yeah.
coming into the home and
Yeah.
being able to provide just little helping hands here and there, it can
Yeah.
make such a huge difference. It would make a huge difference in my life now,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Sorry, my head's moving
That's
here. I'm just plugging in.
okay.
But it absolutely does, right? And I mean, care could even be taking our transportation
Yeah.
services, right? So utilizing our driver, utilizing our vans to help mom or
Mm.
dad go to an appointment,
Yeah.
right? That is care, but
Yes.
it's not care as we perceive care to be, which is on bed, mom or dad's bedridden, or a loved one's
Yeah.
bedridden, or they can't do what they need. A lot of what we provide is also not just care for our end clients, but actually care for their loved ones. It's
Exactly.
respite, it's a break, it's to make
Yes.
their lives easier
Exactly.
as well. And that's an important dynamic of care that doesn't get talked about enough, is
Hmm.
how can we also take care of the family and or loved ones who are involved, right,
Oh,
within care. Yeah.
oh, big
Yeah.
time. I mean, we have a blog coming out in a couple days that's all about the caregiver, not about the
Yeah.
person receiving care. And this idea that, like, I don't know the stat now, but I'll, you know what, I'll put it in. I'll put it in this post when this goes out after. But just the amount of money that is being quote unquote spent on unpaid
Yeah.
caregiving in Canada is insane.
Yeah.
Just comically insane how
Yeah.
much money could be being paid
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
and all these people are taking this on, and as you said, like, you want to do right for your parents, for your family, and that's wonderful, but you also deserve to continue to have your life. Your life can't just be being a caregiver. That's not enough. It's just not
Yeah.
enough for most people. And so it's okay to bring in, respite care, as you said, someone just to take on little tasks so that you can keep working if
Yeah.
you still have a job,
Yeah.
raising your own family and kids
Yeah.
for those sandwich generation people out there, and enjoying your own life. Like, that's an
Yeah.
important part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to
Absolutely.
resent your parent at the end of the day,
Well,
right?
that's exactly it. And I think one of the best things that I ever heard come from a client was, because of the fact that I decided to get some help in some
Mhm.
companionship care, I'm now able to just focus on my relationship with my dad, my mom, right? I'm now allowed to again be just, that daughter, son,
Yeah.
and their kid. Exactly. And that goes throughout, right? As you increase in the care journey, we talk about, companion care, and as things, potentially may escalate into more advanced care, and particularly with dementia, and that
Mhm.
it's just really critical that people think about in that journey themselves,
Mhm.
and they shouldn't be there, right, having to change mom or dad, right?
Yeah.
No one wants to be doing
No.
that. They shouldn't be there if possible, right, in dealing with certain situations and certain care that needs to be provided. Be there for the moments that matter, and be there in the role that we all want to be, which is a loving son or daughter.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
that's what good care enables people to do.
Mhm.
And that's where I certainly saw in our personal journey with my father-in-law a real shift in the dynamics between my wife being primary caregiver and up at all hours of the night, and dealing with the massive stresses in her own life and career and etc., and managing our family, to be able to then shift finally and breathe a little bit into
Mhm.
being that daughter, right, again with her dad.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Now we're just about 5 days away from Personal Support Worker Day, which is
Yeah.
on May 9th. Now, you have quite a team of skilled PSWs at your disposal, and I know that you provide many other services, but just because we've
Yes,
got this special day coming up where we honor these incredible workers, can you tell us a little bit, for the people that maybe don't know, that haven't been down that path
sure.
yet, what exactly does a PSW do, and how are they going to impact the people that they work with?
Definitely. So PSW, personal support workers, they are a blend of they're a blend of care versus sort of domestic help, if you want to call
Okay,
it that.
sure.
Okay. But typically, our PSWs certainly are certified, trained caregivers, care providers. Um, they do incredible work on a day-to-day basis. They do very difficult work on a day-to-day basis. And effectively, what they are there for is to provide the specific care that's required for that particular client, depending on their specific needs. So, if it's a companion assisting with, some errands, assisting with a little bit of household upkeep. Maybe there's some needs around dressing, right? And we call those things assisted daily living activities. So ADLs is the acronym. So effectively, they're there to provide not only sort of care support, but a big sort of maybe understated role that they play is around socialization, right? Being there to provide company, being there to provide companionship, um, and also being there between the conduit between the family, their loved one, and then a company such as ours, right, that works closely with them to proactively monitor their care.
Yeah.
Okay. But we also have a new generation as well of PSWs that are coming in that have international nursing
Okay.
backgrounds. So there's a blending of sort of some nursing with the care as well. Now, of
Mhm.
course, they've got a very specific scope in terms of what they're able to do that pertains to personal support workers. But, a personal support worker can do everything from companionship all the way up into sort of palliative care as well, and being a palliative care support. They are an extension of a broader, perhaps medical team as well, and they're the ones that really are in the home or wherever the client may be, where they need care on a day-to-day basis. They are exceptional, and they do, in my own words, they do God's work. It's
Mm.
incredible.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a wonderful testament to what they
yeah,
do and how important that they are.
yeah,
And I think sometimes we don't give enough credit, or credit, maybe that's the word, yeah, to the work that they do, right? To how difficult it is,
yeah,
not just physically, but emotionally. I mean, they're sitting there holding the hands of someone who's frustrated and struggling in life, and they're doing that day in and day out. So
absolutely.
it's such an important job,
Yeah.
and I think it's right that we have a day where we honor the work that they do.
Absolutely, and
Mhm.
increasingly so, increasingly the role of PSWs is only growing more and more
Mhm.
important. Generally, speaking generally in terms of our healthcare system and the demands that the aging demographic is placing on it as well, right? So we know that on one end, 90% of, plus Canadian, 90 plus percent of Canadians want to age well in place.
Right.
We know that there's not enough retirement homes. People don't want to go to retirement homes. Their
Yeah.
preference is to stay at home. Long-term care homes are, we know that there's a huge shortage of those as well. Again, if we can keep people out of those and keep them home where possible, as long as possible, great. So who's going to do that work ultimately, right?
Mhm.
Is the PSWs.
Exactly.
And they are faced with a very challenging dynamic in the sense that they're also in people's homes,
Yes.
which makes it that much more
Yeah.
intimate in some of the most challenging moments. So
Mhm.
building resilience, building emotional intelligence on top of they're keeping the certifications and everything else in
Mhm.
their training up to date is what we work on with our people.
Mm. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, right now, we're seeing in Canada that we're facing a declining birth rate
Yeah.
and a growing aging population. So many experts are concerned that we're not prepared for this shift from a personal care perspective. There's not
Yeah.
going to be enough young people to take care of older people. So,
Yeah.
what are the risks that we face as a nation if we can't address this problem?
Yeah. I think some of the biggest, and this is the silent crisis, as I'd like to call it, right? It's a part of, um, what's called the gray tsunami. And
Oh,
I just recently posted an article on our blog, which people can tune in to can give a read, which is while we're focused on tariffs, there is a much bigger looming crisis,
yeah,
economic crisis, which is exactly that, right? So if we don't have enough people taking care of our loved ones, and the system, certainly the hospitals, is not the right place, and they're all about patient flow, trying to get people home as fast as possible and keeping those beds available for who really really needs it.
yeah,
And we don't have people in place to take care of people at home. Well, what ends up happening is that the family then becomes responsible for that, and we're already starting to see some of the effects of that, not only from the psychological and physical nature of that, and the stress that it's putting on individuals, but also the economic stress, which is them leaving jobs,
yeah.
right? Them having to give up their own careers to therefore take care of mom and dad. So that's lost productivity, that's lost taxes,
Mhm.
and most importantly, it's pulling people out of the workforce. So that's a huge economic implications, and it is again the silent crisis that we're not paying enough attention to.
Mhm. A little personal story. I came up with this idea. I won't indicate where I submitted the pitch to, but I submitted the pitch to a large entity, we'll call
Yep.
it this, where they had identified that sort of middle-aged
Yep.
women in their
Yep.
50s who were still working were taking a considerable time off work, not for their own children, but to care for aging parents. And these are the bread and butter sandwich generation women,
Yep.
right? And they're taking way too much time off. They're having to take leaves of absences. So I put together this whole presentation for them of here's how we can come in and support these people, help your
Yep.
own HR department to support these people, all these different things. And it was a flat no. They said, oh, we don't see value in it. And I think this is something we're going to see, is that all of these large entities, companies,
Absolutely.
see the issue, but don't yet want to invest money in supporting their employees through
Yep.
something. But we're just going to see more and more of this happening, more and
Yep.
more of this sandwich generation. And people, I'm a millennial, people in my generation did not have kids young.
Yep.
They had them older, which means they are going to be in the sandwich generation, right?
Yep.
My parents' generation as boomers, they had kids, in their early mid 20s. Their kids were long out of the house before they had to act as caregivers,
Yep.
right? They were able to even have a reprieve of a
Yep.
decade or so before they had to step in. And so we're seeing a
Yep.
difference in that, and it will only get more complicated and challenging because, again, if we have less of a birth rate, like
Yep.
where is that going to come from? And so, I mean, what do you think Canadians need to do to be better prepared for this silent crisis? I mean, I guess there could be two prongs to that question. One, what does just an average Canadian like you or I do to
Yeah.
be prepared? But what do we as a nation need to do
Yeah.
beyond acknowledging that it's a problem?
Good, great question. Yeah. So I think on the personal level, we all need to start having the conversation, the care conversation,
Yeah.
right? We cannot wait until we need care. That
Mm-hmm.
is in many instances too late. Why? If you don't have a plan in place, then you're going to be probably hit over the head with the financial, right, constraints, and the financial costs, sorry, of what care really demands. Yes, we try to make care as accessible as possible, but as a private company, it's still a lot of
Yeah, of
money.
course.
And there's not a lot of funding and or subsidies to be able to tap into from a
Mhm.
public or government perspective.
Yeah.
So you really, really need to get ahead of the ball here. And so, we work with partners like Scotia Wealth Management, and Scotia Wealth Management in their total wealth management strategy and sort of services and advisory is now looking at, well, as a part of retirement planning and wealth planning and estate planning, what is the cost of care, and how
Yeah.
are we going to bake that into, right, the long-term or short-term plan for clients? So
Mhm.
it's going, from an institutional perspective, Scotia, some of the larger banks, IG Wealth, certainly looking at that.
Mhm.
So start having the care conversation, start identifying what some scenarios and potentially, what some of the preferences are. Do you want to age at home? If you want to age at home, here's generally the cost and kind of what needs to be put in place. Do you have a point of a power of attorney in place? There's multiple things that one needs to check off on the personal level. Now, from a national perspective, well, we need to start helping Canadians with the affordability crisis of
Yeah.
care, and we need to subsidize care, right? The
Mhm.
government currently, with a lot of the public care that they're providing, in many instances, it's substandard quality,
Yeah.
unfortunately. We do have many, many good and great PSWs and healthcare practitioners that are in the public space. Many of them are burnt out because they're working long days, and working with multiple clients and
Mhm.
traveling to multiple homes on a daily basis. And frankly, they're underpaid.
Yeah.
And so, we need to make sure that yes, from a staffing perspective, we have the people, but we also need to treat them well, pay them well, and support them in their career so they can provide the best care possible. But in terms of, from a national perspective, we need to offset the cost of care
Yeah.
so that more people can gain access to private care as well that's provided by companies, particularly for more complex cases as well,
Mhm.
where we can bring in a far more integrated and a qualified team to come in for not just 1 hour a day, which we see with a lot of the public care, but it's 8 hours a day, around the clock care, etc.
Mhm.
um, I also think that governments, and there is an initiative around this, which I'm very excited about, and I'm very excited about where it's going to go. Not excited about the impact, but also where it's going to go, is what's called naturally occurring retirement communities, or NORCs.
Yeah.
And NORCs right now are kind of being rolled out. And what they are effectively is, if you have a high density community or a building, let's say a condominium, with a population of residents and a percentage of residents that are over the age of 65, so senior citizens, then a system of care is being put in place so that they have dedicated resources within that building. Now, when we come back to the statistic of 90+% of Canadians want an age in place, well, that makes complete sense. So what should happen is that our buildings need to be converted, these residences need to be converted and provided with dedicated services so that they can better promote and encourage aging in place.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is also another systematic change, and more of those types of innovative programs need to be put in place. And I think last but not least, is we need much more affordable, like, retirement homes and
Mhm.
programs, again, subsidies, and quantity, I think, as
Yeah.
well, of these homes. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I mean it's a huge task ahead of us, but it's one that I don't see how we avoid doing
Yeah,
given just the vast amount of boomers and how it's going to just force us to make changes. And I wish that it would happen earlier
I know.
instead of it being this like drastic panic, which is probably how it will end up. But But at least there are people like you and your team out there
Yeah.
who are fighting the good fight and know what's coming
Yeah.
and are
Yeah.
prepared to support people the best you can.
100%. And I mean, just coming back to the previous question, I think we are also from a government and a systematic perspective as well, is we're all about reactive care, right?
Yes.
We're not about proactive care. So that mind shift has to also, not only from a personal perspective, people shifting to planning for and being proactive with care and putting in the right measures and steps and getting in things like companion care or starting the care conversation, but from an institutional and government level, right, it needs to go to, well, let's not just be reactive, because that's where we are today. We're
Yeah.
reactive. And as a result, I see it on a day-to-day basis. Wow, like I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. Like, we need around the clock care. I just, like, we can't afford it. We
Yeah.
don't know what to do. There's no programs, there's no help. So what do we do? Well, I guess the kids have to step in and do something about it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
tough
I mean,
situation. Yeah,
it is. It's becoming a more common
it
situation,
is.
unfortunately, right?
It
Yeah.
is. It is.
Yeah.
It is. But, I would encourage you, Mallory, to continue on that proposal and continue on that,
We are
with
actually.
those conversations, because certainly from a corporate perspective, I would say that, as a part of the net new compensation model, a net new benefits model,
Yeah.
and that has to be baked into people's offers and people's salary.
It
You know,
does.
companies can be subsidizing, care for their parents, retain that talent, and then have a happier, less stressed out worker as well. I mean, it's a huge bonus. Yeah.
100%. No, we are. We did not get discouraged from
Good.
the
Good.
first attempt.
Good.
We
Good.
no, we're moving forward. Don't
Okay.
worry. But I really
Good.
I really appreciate you taking some time, Marcel. I know that you were a very busy, in
Thank you.
demand man. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for being here and joining
Thank you.
us on this episode and sharing your knowledge. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you very much, Mallory, and thank you to the audience as well for joining in today. Reach out to Good Comfort if you have any questions. We're here to help you navigate care. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you next
All
month.
right. Bye.
Bye.